Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, amazing Leonard. It's February 10th, it's Tuesday. We have a lot to discuss today. We have some updates on cases that we're following, and then we have updates from the Emily Show podcast this week. So we are going to be getting to both, and we're going to be getting to questions because y'all had so many questions after the podcast that was released yesterday on Monday, February 9th, and there continue to be updates. So here we are. You know, EDB does not often cover breaking news. Why? Because it moves so fast. By the time we talk about it, it's going to be done, and there's going to be more. We are going to do our best today to cover the updates in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. So we will do our best. But when we get to breaking news and the rest of it, it can be difficult because it's fast moving. So we are going to do our best today with the news as it's moving, with the news as it's moving in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. And there are updates happening in that case in real time. And we have a few other cases that we need to talk about. So we will be doing a little bit of both, Law Nerds. We are going to update on the other cases, and then we are going to go to the Nancy Guthrie news and updates. Okay? All right? All right. Sounds good. We're going to roll the intro. We're going to talk about some updates, and then we got some things to talk about. Let me know where you're coming in from, where you're drinking. Where you're drinking? It's a Tuesday, y'all. Let me know where you're coming in from, what you're drinking. Obviously, my caffeine is not kicked in yet. Emily is not a news anchor. Just a disclaimer. I know that you guys appreciate when I cover things that are just fraught. I appreciate you. Honestly, the notes on the podcast yesterday were just heartwarming. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. And I appreciate how appreciated it was. And I also understand how hard it is to find coverage of difficult topics that is compassionate and neutral. Neutral in that it is not hyper sensationalized. I mean, obviously not neutral in the fact that I don't feel some kind of way. I feel incredibly sad about this whole story, but not sensationalized, not pulling at the heartstrings, not speculating recklessly and wildly about everything. Because as we learned in the Karen Reed case, anything is possible. Lexus SUVs can be spaceships. Anything can be possible. And we have to keep that possibility and try to focus on what we know, even when it's uncomfortable, because when it comes to stories that we do not have resolution on, it can be difficult to also hold the desire for an answer and the lack of answers at the same time. It's frustrating and it's difficult. But when we are rushing just to find closure or an answer, it is not necessarily a rush to find the right answer, in my opinion. I like to respond to things slowly. I like to digest the information that we are getting. I like to take that in and make those connections. And rushing to just fill in the gaps doesn't allow you to see where the gaps are. And I find that to be difficult. I look for what's known and what's unknown first to see where the gaps are and see where the answers come to light in those areas. And it's difficult sometimes to find where those gaps are if you just want to spackle over them with speculation. No speculative spackle, chat. No speculative spackle. All right. Let's roll the intro. Let's get going. Hey there, I'm lawyer and legal analyst Emily D. Baker, and this is your go-to destination for live court coverage. I break down the law, the strategy, and the evidence in real time so you know what's happening. No law degree required. So join the law nerds in the chat. They're here for the facts, not and let's get to court. All right. It is time for us to do some updates. We've got some updates on cases that we have been covering. We're going to do those first. Then we are going to move into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. We will do a bit of a road so far for those of you that didn't see the podcast yesterday. What was that, Emily? My phone. I was trying to move it out of the way. So I could move something on my desk. Look, I could just blame Fred, but it's really the lack of sleep, which is technically Fred's fault. So it is what it is. All of you are like, no slander of Fred the cat. I know. All right. Let's talk first about my in-ears being a pain in my butt. Let's talk first about what's going on tomorrow. EDB is going to a concert with the fam. We'll talk about that tomorrow. EDB is going to a concert with the fam. It is a birthday week for G. It's all the things this week. So tomorrow, there is Supreme Court oral argument for Alec Murdaugh. We're going to be covering it. We're just going to cover it later in the day. Again, there's not going to be any breaking news. They're going to argue their appellate briefs. We're going to watch it together. They're not going to make a decision tomorrow. It is going to take them months to make a decision. The attorneys are arguing on two different aspects of the appeal. So it's going to be 40 plus minutes of argument on each aspect of the appeal. So it's going to be a longer appellate argument than we normally see. But that's because of those two aspects of the appeal. You know that they are appealing based on courthouse Becky, just dumb fuckery. That is an aspect of the appeal that I am very invested in, very interested in. For those that we have not done a deep dive on, I will give an overview before we go into the Supreme Court arguments, but we will see them exploring the standard. When we are talking about law, the Supreme Courts have to apply the standard law of the land. Here's the thing. When there's a split of authority, you can have a rule that's one way in South Carolina and a rule that's different when it's the federal rule. And that's what's happening when there is a state actor, courthouse Becky, hired by the state actor. When you have a state actor that interferes with a jury. The difference in standard is a very big deal. Because the difference in standard from South Carolina to the Supreme Court of the US is who bears the burden to show that they have been prejudiced by that action. In the federal standard, if it's a state actor, prejudice is presumed. Because if it's a bailiff or if it's a court clerk, they are presumed essentially, and I am distilling this a lot, to almost carry more weight than like someone screaming outside a courthouse. Like someone yelling outside a courthouse, the end is nigh, Alec Murdaugh is a murderer or whatever. A lot of jurors are like, that's extra. But when it's someone in a position of authority, it becomes more of an issue. And there's also acknowledgement in the prejudice is presumed. It becomes harder because jurors don't want to say that they were swayed by something. Generally, they're like, no, I made up my own mind. I would like to think I always make up my own mind. Then again, I'm watching something on TV going, oh, maybe I do need bangs. Oh, maybe all of a sudden I am craving licorice. Okay. Sometimes the suggestion of something can change our mind. And then, of course, I'm the one who's deciding if I want to go cut bangs, I'm not going to, or want to go to the store and buy, milk duds or whatever. But I made that decision. However, the information is coming to me from an external source, right? So it can be difficult to say, oh no, I made up my own mind. Okay, but how do you undo that information when it comes from someone who is in a position of authority, right? So the federal standard presumes prejudice. The South Carolina standard says that the defendant has to show that there's prejudice. If South Carolina chooses to change the standard, then Alec Murdaugh has a much better chance of getting a new trial. If South Carolina is like, deuces, we ride, this is our standard, he's going to meet the same result he met with Justice Toll and not get a new trial. It depends if the standard changes. South Carolina may change their standard. South Carolina may change their standard. If they do, he has a better chance at new trial. So tomorrow, South Carolina Supreme Court. The other aspect of that appeal is the denial of a writ, and they are going to argue that they should have been allowed to take a writ regarding issues in the trial, and they were denied the ability to take a writ. So we're going to see two different aspects. The strongest argument for Alec Murdaugh is if South Carolina changes their standard to conform with the federal standard, which a number of people do. Courts don't take this up very often, so sometimes courts will take a case for the opportunity of changing their standard. So we'll see. If they do change it, we might see a new trial for Alec Murdaugh. Might. So we will see. All right. Are we ready to get into our next update? Let's give our next update. All right. We're going to swoop on this one. Very early this morning in Utah, Judge M decided that the media was allowed to observe jury selection. So the media is going to observe jury selection, and we will hear about it. Jury selection begins in the trial of Kouri Richins, and we will be seeing the jury. Well, we will see media reporting on the jury selection in the Kouri Richins case. However, if a juror wants to have a private colloquy with the judge, then the courtroom will be cleared again. So I don't know how much the media is going to get to see of jury selection, but we will see. I don't know how much we'll see, but we will see what they have to say. So Kouri Richins' jury selection is beginning. That is our update. That is it. All right. Last scheduling for the week. We're going to court with Murdaugh tomorrow. It's going to be in the afternoon. I'm not sure we're going to go to court Thursday. Friday, we will be in court for sentencing. We talked about this last week, but Friday we will be in court for sentencing for Juliana Magalhaes, the Banfield co-conspirator. We're going to be a little bit behind real time, but closer to real time. Emily, you always say that. We'll try. This is a particularly, well, the last few weeks have been particularly busy, family-wise, but we will be closer to real time in court for that sentencing, which will probably go pretty quick. So I will let you know in the Lawnerd app. Make sure you have it, Lawnerd app at lawnerdapp.com. I will let you know in the Lawnerd app when we are going live for that hearing. It will be earlier in the morning than we normally stream. All right, Lawnerds, before we go to, Emily says breaking news. We don't go to breaking news, but breaking news. Before we go to dynamic news, because we're going to do a road so far and then we're going to catch up in real time. So Lawnerds, thank you for your patience in the chat. I have been keeping an eye on what's going on. We will catch up in real time. We've got a road so far we need to cover. So thank you for not, jumping ahead. I appreciate it. We will be catching up in real time on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie and information that is coming out this morning, but we're going to catch up on things that happened yesterday first. So just hang tight. We're going to get there. We've got some road to tread before we get there. We're not going to jump in and then work backwards. But I will be keeping you up to date on when we are streaming in the Lawnerd app. And as we transition into talking about the updates from yesterday in the Nancy Guthrie case into the updates that are happening this morning, we do have a sponsor because you never know when Legacy Media is going to, try it on your channel. And so our sponsors have been incredibly generous to be like, girl, we got you on live stream. Don't worry about it. We got you, which I appreciate because, literally my breakfast is brought to you by today's sponsor, Wildgrain. Emily, are you going to be eating while you run this? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I sure am. Hopefully you are too, because it's delicious. Thank you to today's stream sponsor, Wildgrain. Lawnerd, a quick moment to thank today's stream sponsor, Wildgrain. Not only do they make my favorite chocolate croissants that you see me eating on stream all the time, but I have used the sourdough to make the most delicious French onion soup, and I love their pastas. Do not sleep on the ravioli. They are so good. What I love about Wildgrain is they deliver right to your door frozen artisanal breads, pastas, croissants, desserts, cookies, and then you just pop them in the oven and they're ready as if you made it yourself. And Wildgrain consistently adds seasonal products that just are the little like bite of the season that you would get at the farmer's market if you wanted to get up at that time on a Saturday. Plus, with every box ordered, Wildgrain donates 2 meals to a food security charity of your choice, including the Greater Boston Food Bank, at no extra cost to you. If you are ready to go freezer to table in like 25 minutes, no fuss, no mess, I've got you covered. So Leonard, if you're ready to check out Wildgrain, you know we've got a deal. Be sure to click the link in the description and use code Leonard to get $30 off your first box. Plus, you'll get free croissants in every future box for life. All right, let's get back to today's stream. And a huge thank you again to Wildgrain because, you know, being able to pop something in the oven as I'm getting ready for stream, amazing. Mama Dups asked, how big are the cookies? They're large. They are large cookies. They are big enough to gift to Banfield. Would anyone be around to gift him cookies? They are large enough for a tall man. That's how big they are. Big cookies. Also, Wildgrain does have vegan and gluten-free options. So there's that. All right. We are going to move into doing an update regarding everything that has happened since the podcast yesterday, as best we can do everything that has happened since the podcast yesterday. I am aware that there are things that are happening in real time. Don't worry. We will get to the things that are happening in real time. We are not just going to sit there and wait for things to happen. We're going to cover all the things we're covering and then we'll get to it. So don't worry, Leonards, we'll get there. If you did not watch the podcast yesterday, A, totally get it. B, we're going to do a bit of a road so far. C, go back and watch the podcast. It has a much thorough breakdown of the timeline. And we do talk about another case that was a abduction of teenagers because of the game and facilitated by the chat in the game Roblox. We have talked about Roblox a bit. That story is also in the podcast from yesterday. So backing up on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, mother of news anchor and, you know, morning show host and Olympic commentator and interviewer Savannah Guthrie, who I had not remembered had worked at Court TV, but as I see everybody covering this case, they keep talking about working with Savannah Guthrie at Court TV. Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, is 84 years old, went missing from her home. One of the big updates is to how that was reported and how it was discovered that she was missing. Because the timeline is that she went missing in the very early morning hours of Sunday, February 1st. It is now February 10th. That in itself is concerning. It has been quite a long time. We saw multiple press conferences from the Pima County Sheriff's Office early in this case. And then the last thing on the Pima County Sheriff's updates today are the bees were contained. Emily, bees in the trap. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. That was their last update. Their last update yesterday was, I'll show you. Literally, the bees have been contained. We have not seen an update from Pima County Sheriffs in this case, other than like 6 o'clock and all's well in days and days and days, which is also seeming to cause some consternation. So the bees have been contained, which I understand is, you know, you can't just be out and about if the bees are swarming. However, there have been no other updates other than the bees have been contained. And then we saw the other updates from, that's comments. We don't need the comments section ever. The other updates we have from yesterday evening, which I posted about in the Leonard Lounge, were essentially there are no press briefings scheduled at this time. And then they also released that investigators have not identified any suspects. That information is changing this morning. We will talk about it in a few. Investigators have not identified any suspects, person of interest, or vehicles connected to Nancy Guthrie. Okay. We know that Monday, based on the purported ransom notes, and again, it's hard to know the authenticity of those because they have not or did not send any proof of life. There was a deadline Monday evening at 5 p.m., I think local time Mountain. And as that deadline was nearing, we saw that Savannah Guthrie released an additional video on Instagram. So we're going to take a look at that updated video, and then we are going to move into news as it breaks, because there is going to be, well, whenever we are being told there is to be news released, it has not been released yet. So as we got near this deadline, we saw an additional video from Savannah Guthrie that does not, in my mind, talk about or acknowledge any ransom note at all. At all. It really seems, to speak directly to assistance of the public and asking for assistance from the public, which is different than previous videos put out by Savannah Guthrie and her siblings. It is a different tone of video. It is a different request of video, and it is asking the public for help. We have listed the helpline down below. The 1-800-CALL-FBI is the tip line. I did not indicate the local tip line. I imagine that the FBI has more resources to sort through and find tips that are useful and tips that are not at all useful, and they are able to weed that out better. You can also call local law enforcement if you are local in the area. So we're going to take a look at that video that Savannah Guthrie released and go from there. All right. All right. I'm going to pause this real quick and make sure we have sound. So this is from yesterday, late in the afternoon, on Savannah Guthrie's Instagram, which is, again, her talking directly to the camera with updated requests for help from the public. So let's go there. I'm trying to just, well, we love a comment section. We don't need a full comment section.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and
I'm going to turn that down just a bit.
Share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
That is the entirety of the video yesterday afternoon, Monday, February 9th, from Savannah Guthrie. I do not doubt when she said that they are in an hour of desperation, that that's exactly how the family feels. We also saw updates late on Monday from the FBI saying that they had been working tirelessly and were pursuing new leads. Local law enforcement said that they were working tirelessly and pursuing new leads. We also saw information being reported today that those that worked around the Nancy Guthrie residence and the property were submitting their DNA. So there were more DNA tests being taken. And then we got an update before we get to today's update. Then we got updates late in the day yesterday that talked about how this was all reported and how anyone knew that Nancy Guthrie was missing. It was something that I talked about on the podcast. It was something that was one of those notes that was not sitting well with me because there was quite a lot of conversation that she was expected at church. You guys know where I'm going with this. She was expected at church and they had not seen her at church, and then somebody reported it. But then there was also a lot of communication to the media that she had not been attending church in person. Makes perfect sense. Had not been attending church in person. However, it was also being reported that local churches in Tucson were not hosting live streams that were on Zoom or Facebook, or hosting live streams in a way that had chat information. So for me, it sat very weird that a live stream would be able to tell who was logging on if there was no function for them to log on. And it just never sat well with me. Well, we saw quite a lot of reporting yesterday that we're going to pull up now that actually answers that question. And I don't know if I feel better or if I am more mad that it took so long to get what is a very fucking simple answer. I don't know why this took so long. I don't know why the information put out initially was wrong. It makes sense if there is a Zoom and you can see who's logged in. It makes sense if there is a Facebook chat and somebody is very active and then they're not. There are things that make sense. None of this made sense. So we're going to go to the new news item from late yesterday. That Nancy Guthrie was watching church streamed with friends. Well, that makes a lot more fucking sense, everybody. Could we have started with that? How at the beginning are we starting with information that should be pretty clear? This should be pretty clear. I don't know why this is confusing. Why did it take 9 days? Why did it take 9 days to simply say, no, she was expected at a friend's house and didn't show up at a friend's house? This is information. You don't have to disclose the friend. I don't think you should. But this is the type of information that seems innocuous. And yet the fact that it was wrong is concerning. Just really, really concerning. And I find frustrating because there are so many little quirks to this case where things are being released incorrectly or inaccurately. And if you don't know, don't say. But it also sends a lot of energy down areas that don't necessarily need energy. This is frustrating. This is frustrating. She was expected to watch church with friends. That is incredibly different. That's incredibly different. So, this is also not an update from law enforcement, so I am going to note with that. Numerous outlets are reporting it. I think all outlets are reporting it from one outlet. I think everybody's just shaking each other's hand and reporting somebody else's reporting. Because everyone's reporting this. Law enforcement has not confirmed this. So this reporting from numerous outlets, I think it's probably the same source. A source close to the Guthrie family says key details about how Nancy Guthrie was discovered missing on Sunday, February 1st have been reported incorrectly. How frustrating would that be if you're the friends? If you're the church group, how frustrating would that be? To be watching the news and being like, that's not what happened. So for all of you in the chat that are saying I hadn't heard this happened last night. So this is new. According to the source, Nancy was not scheduled to attend in-person church service in Tucson that morning, as some reports had suggested. She was not even attending remote church service for a congregation in Tucson. Instead, every Sunday since COVID, Nancy regularly gathered with a small group of friends to watch a New York-based church service via live stream. The group would meet at one of the friends' homes and watch the service live from Savannah Guthrie's church in New York. Different church, group of friends. Also, I love this for this group of friends. I love this for this group. Absolutely love it. You have community. You have people to attend with in a way that works for you, especially because we know that for Nancy Guthrie, mobility was an issue. I love this detail. I hate that it took 9 days for this to be clarified. It makes so much more sense that it was a different church service, because the way we'd heard other churches in Tucson that she was connected to stream, there would really be no way for someone to know if somebody logged in or not. So yeah, I bet her friends were absolutely worried. This makes so much more sense because Nancy would have called. Nancy would have been there. This is unusual behavior for Nancy. So yeah, we're worried. And then Nancy's friend contacted Annie, the local daughter. Right. On February 1st, Nancy did not arrive at her friend's house as expected to watch the live stream. Concerned, the friend contacted Annie, Nancy's daughter, and Savannah Guthrie's sister to report that Nancy had not shown up and could not be reached. Right. The source emphasized that Nancy was expected to be at her friend's home that morning, not a Tucson church, and said the circumstances surrounding her absence have been inaccurately described in some coverage. The inaccuracies in this come from the law enforcement reporting. This makes more sense. So how it was discovered that she was missing is that she did not show up at her friend's home to watch a live stream, and then they could not reach her on her phone. How did they not know this immediately? Because someone called law enforcement. I would imagine my mother did not attend church, even if that detail was wrong. Her friend called me. It just got kerfuffled in the way that it was reported, and it's frustrating. So there we go. We will see. Well, we'll see if anybody updates us, but we'll see what happens with that. But the frustration of this is much. We have one other item that came out yesterday before we head to what is breaking today. But we have one other item that was reported by numerous outlets yesterday evening at numerous times. But apparently, and I have now seen this from numerous outlets, including Fox News Digital, Local, which is the first place I saw this. Locals delayed cooperation with the feds in Nancy Guthrie probe. Federal agents arrived in Tucson last week to an icy welcome. I mean, the ice storm was here in Nashville, but sure, not a cooperative welcome. Amid a harrowing search for Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, mother of Today co-host Savannah Guthrie. They say she was abducted from her home. Law enforcement said she did not leave willingly. I still call this a disappearance. Either way. She was taken from her home around 2:30 a.m. February 1st. Law enforcement sources described a delay in local cooperation with federal investigators within the days, with days going by before they brought them into the fold. We did not see, the FBI communicating in a press conference till the third press conference, which was the last one we have seen till now. The third press conference was Thursday last week, before the additional note came out, before the other videos. And that's the first time we really saw the FBI saying anything. So the delay in working with the feds in a case where you're going to need to dump all the cell phone towers is surprising to me, because you are dealing with high volume digital evidence. You are dealing with a difficult and vast terrain, and you are dealing with limited resources. Not looping in federal law enforcement is wild to me. Absolutely wild to me. So, when we are looking at the things at the beginning of this investigation, there has been quite a lot of confusion. And really the frustration for me, chat, I know. I told you guys, it's like I said, chat, that we were going to cover what had led up to today, and then we were going to go to today. Did I not say that like 3 times? Guys, we'll get there. We'll get there. I said we were going to back up and then catch up. I thought I clearly communicated that. We'll get there. Did I not say that? I thought I did. But I thought I said that. So y'all, it's hard for me to focus. So, and our mods, can't. Thank you. I did. I appreciate it. All right. Y'all it's not going to change in the next 30 seconds as we kind of catch everybody up on the things that happened last night. We're going to get there. I know it's hard. I get it. So the replay crew is going to be like, what the fuck happened in chat? I'm trying to follow things in a linear order so that I say everything that I wanted to say as we prepped a podcast or we prepped a stream for today. I wanted to catch up with everything that had happened since the podcast yesterday. So we'll get there. There's a lot of people who have not been following this story, refreshing quite a lot, which I encourage. I encourage not refreshing constantly on this story, because there are so many aspects of this story that are just going to go slowly. And it is going to take time. So, it's okay, Miguelina, I have one. So when we are looking at the beginning of this investigation, the beginning of this investigation had quite a lot of clunkiness to it. And with that clunkiness, we are seeing an investigation that has now taken 10 days with information that continues to change, which makes it hard for the public truly to, Miguelina, we need to make just a note on my end. Some of the mod functions aren't working within my back end because I'm trying to help mods as well, but I can't throw the hammer down effectively. I'm trying to delete some of y'all, but I can't. So we just need to make a note about it. Thank you. So, and I mean chats. Trying to delete some of the chats. Not getting rid of y'all. The chats, y'all. The chats. So when we are looking at the beginning of this investigation, if this was a kidnap for ransom investigation, then delaying having the feds brought in is difficult. Delaying or having the timeline being skewed is difficult, because if the public is trying to assist, you can't get that assistance if the timeline is wrong. Because if the timeline is wrong, people are going to be like, oh, well, I didn't see anything around that time. When you have 45-minute variances, it's going to change what people saw and or did. So when you have those issues at the beginning of a case, it seems to me that we started a case with, no, it's LKJ. No, I'm really distracted trying to rein in chat. So that, which is why we have rules in chat, because I am also an ADHD streamer and it's sometimes hard to process all of the information at once, which is why we have rules. So when you have difficulties at the beginning of an investigation, it makes the public less able to help. It also opens up doors and avenues of wild speculation that are difficult. And so if you had what you typically have in a kidnapping for a ransom of some sort, which is communication early on and communication conveying what they expected early on, you would expect to see that. We did not see that in this chat. Chat case. We didn't see that in this case. We didn't see early communications of expectations, and then we saw a flurry of activity days later. The flurry of activity days later is really atypical if this started as a kidnapping for ransom in that way at the beginning. If that was something that was a hoax later, a cover-up later, concocted later, it makes more sense because the timing isn't correct. And so we have looked at a case where the timeline has shifted. It seems that local law enforcement and the feds were not working well together. Local law enforcement doesn't have nearly the capacity to dump cell phone towers, which would have needed to be done early, to start to preserve digital evidence. We saw them going to gas stations and such. We would want to see that early. And so when you have a massive search, you also want to bring in the resources that you need. And we didn't see those search resources rolling out at the beginning. And that has concerned me since the beginning of the case, that there were resources that we did not see rolling out. So as we get into what is happening today, we are getting into a whole bunch of breaking news, which I probably will never do again. I very rarely cover breaking news. I did not anticipate that we would have news breaking while I was streaming. It is not something that I love to do. And when it becomes unwieldy, it's probably something that I will just wait on and update in the Law Nerd Lounge and just not do it on live stream, which is probably going to be the decision. So when we are looking at updates on this, A, I will probably not do it live. B, there were so many questions in the podcast yesterday that I thought it would be helpful. Some of it has not been helpful. So I am sorry, Law Nerds, for it is generally chill. Today has not been chill, but there were so many questions and so many of you looking for a mindful breakdown of this case that we wanted to do it together. And I thought that would be helpful. However, I did not anticipate that we would start streaming and then have breaking news on top of what we saw yesterday. So, Lawnards, I appreciate you. We'll keep it in the Lawnard Lounge and we'll do it in other ways. But I appreciate you. The rest of this week, it doesn't really matter because the rest of this week we have so much live court that we're going to be covering. I will update this elsewhere and then update it in the podcast if we need to. I don't know if we will see more information than we saw today soon. We might not. Let's go to what is being updated today in real time. There are some very loud, not just me, there were some very loud things that we can take away from the reporting today. So let's go to the reporting today. We're going to, you know what? We didn't fly to Tucson. And for the regular law nerds, not those who are, chat chaos gremlins, but for the regular law nerds, we should just fly to Tucson, right? Let's go. Because I'm pretty sure that the chaos gremlins have already left. Perfect. We're back. Just law nerds. All right. Hi, everybody. No frequent flyer miles for the chaos gremlins. For the rest of you, we had quite a lot of information breaking in the last few days. Some of you are like, finally, I'm already in Tucson. Look, part of this is we need to go back to yesterday, and I don't think I said it smoothly, which is going to make it miserable to put together a case brief. But one of the things I need to point out yesterday, and I'm trying to find where it is because there were a number of updates yesterday. Yesterday, this is the exact statement from the FBI, and then we're going to go to today's statement. Yesterday, we saw, there was so much shit going on websites. So yesterday, the FBI says it had not identified a suspect or person of interest in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. They also said that, every news outlet is different. Emily, can we crash out of technology instead of spoilers? Yes, we can absolutely accomplish that. But the FBI statement yesterday is that for more than a week, FBI agents, analysts, and professional staff have worked around the clock to reunite Nancy Guthrie with her family. Additional personnel from FBI field offices nationwide remain deployed to Tucson, where the Bureau is operating a 24-hour command post with crisis management experts, analysts, and investigative teams. The FBI is urging the public to come forward with information. This is their direct quote, someone has that one piece of information that can help us bring Nancy home, the spokesperson said, and then any additional information, call 1-800-FBI. So this is what was put out at the end of the day, Monday. Now we jump to today, and they are putting out images of a potential suspect, which is unusual because we heard that there was no footage anywhere. And in hearing that there was no footage anywhere, it is surprising to me that this morning we started seeing media updates that law enforcement was going to be putting out photos. Well, it's not law enforcement. It's the FBI. Pima County Sheriff's has not put out anything. The FBI has. I know, it's the FBI! So the FBI has been able to recover from the doorbell. I'm not going to say a brand name because the brand name everybody says I think is incorrect, but has been able to find images from the doorbell video camera. But Pima County Sheriff's released a statement afterwards. So I just wonder if Pima County sheriffs didn't know. Like, are we in a full Scotty didn't know? So let's break down the order of everything that happened today. Because the update from we'll get to the update from Pima County sheriffs. I don't know if they knew. I just wonder if there is a massive disconnect on the ground in this case. And it seems like there is a massive disconnect on the ground in this case. A massive disconnect. And that's a big problem. The FBI releases surveillance photos of a potential subject. Notice the language, subject, in the Nancy Guthrie case. This is from a doorbell camera. This is a individual dressed in a mask, a zip-up, gloves, backpack. One of them is I guess now we know what kind of camera it is. It says it in the corner. The second one is of the suspect with the mask on, holding a flashlight in their mouth, and it looks like they are grabbing that looks like foliage that was on the entryway, and holding it up towards the camera, and then a gloved hand moving towards the camera in two pictures. So these are from the FBI. These seem to be a photo of one individual at the front door. And we have mask, gloves, and what seems to be the foliage from the area that we saw on the front stoop and other photos. So these look like, it's really hard to tell in black and white, but they look like more of a latex glove. So I'm going to switch to the other other photos of these. Again, this is from a doorbell camera that have been released by the FBI this morning. However, we have two very different stories going on here let's do it this way. With Pima County sheriffs saying there are no press briefings planned at this time. Sheriff Nanos is not conducting one-on-one interviews. If and when a press conference is scheduled, we will notify the media. But then we also have Pima County Sheriff reposting what the FBI said. And this is what the FBI said through the FBI director. New images in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Over the last 8 days, the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department have been working closely. I have questions about that. Over the last 8 days, the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department have been working closely with our private sector partners to continue to recover any images or video footage from Nancy Guthrie's home that may have been lost, corrupted, or inaccessible due to a variety of factors, including the removal of recording devices, which we had heard happened. The video was recovered from residual data located in back-end systems. We had heard at the beginning of this case that because there was no subscription, there was no data. Because there was no subscription, there was nothing recorded. So my question is, was there nothing recorded to the cloud because there was no subscription? Or is everything being recorded and you just can't access it because there's no subscription? Because the device itself was taken. And with the device itself being taken, you can't take this off of the device. So I think that even if you don't have the subscription, at least we know that something is being saved. You just can't get to it. I guess that's helpful because now there are images. So this video was recovered from residual data located in backend systems. So directly from the company. Working with our partners, as of this morning, law enforcement has uncovered these previously inaccessible new images showing an armed individual. Okay. Oh, hey T. I was wondering why George was being so loud, and then we had an interruption. Hi, buddy. Hi, George. I was wondering why George was yelling. Hi, George. Hi, T. Good to see you. I know. It's getting close to time. All right. Thanks for coming in and saying hi when you got home. So, they say armed. I don't know if in this first picture they say that the individual is holding a weapon. I don't know. I'm sure there will be much lengthy analysis of these images. But somebody wearing a mask, gloves, backpack, hoodie. What's going to be really helpful, truly, is the shoes. And they'll be able to see if there are any footprints. Again, this looks like foliage. There were like flowers and stuff on the front. And so this foliage looks similar. I will try to grab those pictures real quick of the front where we saw that there was blood on the front and then it looked like foliage was on the ground. And the other images of a hand up over the camera and pieces of the face through the mask that's being worn. So the statement goes on to say, working with our partners, as of this morning, law enforcement has uncovered these previously inaccessible new images showing an armed individual appearing to have tampered with the camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door the morning of her disappearance. Anyone with information, please contact the FBI. So that is what is released by the FBI. I'm going to try to go find that other image of the front where we can see that foliage, because that's what I think is in the hands in this second photo. But it is more new information than we've had in 10 days. It is interesting that this was released by the FBI, and then later the sheriff's department's like, we're not answering any questions. We're not doing anything else. We were told repeatedly and definitively that there was no video. I think it is a reminder that when law enforcement makes statements, it's hard when they make those statements so definitively if they are not aware of all of the potential avenues to recover information. Unless the sheriff was really unaware, I guess, that more could possibly be recovered. It's possible that the sheriff was truly unaware that there was a possibility to recover from the back end systems of the Nest doorbell. I don't know why put out such definitive statements. I don't think, unless it was meant to be a maybe if someone thinks that there's no video, they will keep somebody safe or be more chill. I don't know. Let's take a look at some more of the updates from NBC. I'm just taking a look at those here to see if there's anything else other than the photos being released. No, Emily, that's not what you were going to do. You were going to go look at the photo of the front door. That's what I was going to go look for because I was curious. But that all happened this morning. The FBI has released new photos from the early morning hours when Nancy Guthrie disappeared and from her Nest doorbell camera, previously believed to not be recoverable. They were recovered from the back-end systems, which, again, I suspect, this is me speculating, I suspect that the system did record things even if you didn't have a subscription to pull them down from a cloud. And I imagine that they were asked early on to preserve anything they had with regard to this home and this time period. And it seemed that they took time to do that. Let me see if I can find the particular photo that I am looking for. And I think this is video, not photo, but I wanted to look at, there was something very particular I was looking for. Let's see, this is coming from Brian Enton on X. I think this is what I wanted to look for. This is his video because remember, the house was kept as a crime scene, then was not, then was, then was not, then was, then was not, et cetera, et cetera. And so media had access to the front stoop area of the property and went to the front stoop area of the property. Let's actually just do that this way. And went to the front stoop area of the property, but there were like flowers and other foliage on the side. That's actually harder. On the side of the home, which you can see, I'm trying to have this not crop so it can be seen without my face covering the part that I'm looking at. So give me a sec. Well, there we go. Try to make this match the size of the video. So when we're looking at the Ring doorbell, that's actually worse. This is why we prep things in advance, but I'm just going to go full size on it in a minute. But when I talked about that photo having what looked to me like foliage, this looks like foliage from the front stoop. There was debris here that looked like stems, as you can see here, paused, and then we're going to pass the area with blood, but branches or stems up on the front. So when we're talking about that photo and that pot in the front, I'm going to take a look and see if it goes back out. Hold on. There is also video here of where the doorbell would have been and was removed. So I want to see if this goes back to the plants. No, we didn't see it, but that's what it looked like to me. I think a number of you indicated that it looked like something different, but that's what it looks like to me. To maybe either, well, there's a lot of ways you can use that to conceal, but to me, those look the same. So that looks the same to me. For those of you asking about the images or the video of blood on the front, that was tested and confirmed to be Nancy Guthrie's. We talked about that a bit in the podcast, but I do think that what looks like foliage from the front in the hand is truly that. Let me see if there's any other photos of that I can pull up, because that's what it appears to be to me. Of course, we do not have the clearest images, and we are working with reporting, because these images are released from Brian Enton walking up to the front and recording them, because we did not have these images from law enforcement, and the home had already been released from being a crime scene when he walked up and recorded those. So the doorbell camera was removed from the home. There was disturbed, here, this might be a little bit, let's see if I can do this. This might be a little bit of a better image. The doorbell camera was removed from the home. The blood on the front stoop was tested and confirmed to be Nancy Guthrie's. They would have done that through known samples, because they had access to her home. So this was from that first day, Sunday, or no, this February 3rd. So Monday. And you can also see in this still image that there are apparent like branches with a little bit of leafing in the front of the stoop. You can see the missing doorbell cam in the front door, which is a like metal screened door. Mute that. There is an Amazon package in this one as well. I don't know if that is in any of the images that we saw, though I don't know if we would have seen it. But right where this door, where this brick is here, there is a Amazon package tucked right away. I don't know when that would have been delivered. That would be one of the easiest things to discover. But he is focusing on the apparent blood on the front. I'm very interested in the leaves and stuff here, because none of that was collected, it seems. None of that was collected, because this is after they released the crime scene, which is interesting. All right. So let's see. There's more video. All right. Thank you, Miguelina. But wait, there's more. So as we were looking at these things, more has been released from the home. So we're going to go through all of it together real quick. And then we will, and then I think we are going to be done. But there is new video being released this morning after we covered, also being released from the FBI. What was this? Literally just a few minutes ago. So let's go take a look at the full video and the other stills that have now been released from the FBI. It's interesting how you see Pima County sheriffs saying, no press conference, no new suspects, no new this, no new that. And then you see a deadline that we had been told by the media existed in whatever communication notes demanding money there were. And then we see numerous videos from Samantha Guthrie and the family talking to someone who might have Nancy Guthrie. And then we see a plea for the public's help, no discussion about anyone who might have Nancy Guthrie, and a absolute plea to the public for assistance and for help. And then we see this morning numerous things recovered from I imagine, the cloud servers for the doorbell camera, because the physical camera was removed. We were told that they couldn't recover any video. And I really wonder, God, I hate this. I really wonder if the sheriffs just tried to look at the phone and were like, oh, we can't access the cloud. It's not accessible. Because if there's no subscription, you can't pull down videos. You can just see the alerts. And then said, well, there's no cloud, so we can't grab it. I imagine they reached out to the company and were like, can you grab everything? But the frustration of, okay, how were you told that there was nothing? And then you told the public that there was nothing. And then days later, it's walked back. It's odd to me. Why not just say, we can't recover it off the devices at this time? We are working on it, and we are working with the company, and that takes time. It does take time. It does take time to get it. But it's okay to say we can't get it off of the devices, and it's going to take us more time, instead of just saying definitively no. Unless they really wanted to make anyone who might have been holding Nancy Guthrie believe that they were not seen. It's completely possible. I don't know in the early hours if it was, but it's possible. Who knows? Either way, it might have been to make them think that there was no video. That is completely possible. So let's take a look at the additional release of images. This is similar to the one we previously saw, but there is also video. This is a further away image. We can't see the area where we were just looking, where you saw the kind of a Amazon envelope tucked away, and then the vase. We don't see that in this image, but it is a further away image, which for anyone who's been to Nancy Guthrie's house, they are going to be able, I think this is an important photo for them to be able to get a sense of height and to be able to start to begin an assessment, because they will be able to assess in person how tall that archway is, and be able to get a sense of height of the person attaching or walking up to the home. And you get a good sense really of aspect on that, because you know where their foot is, kind of close to where it transitions from gravel to the entryway to the home. And then we have a video of the masked individual walking up to the camera. And covering the camera, no Amazon package, covering the camera while walking up. Hold on. I'm going to play this a couple times. There's no audio on this video. It looks like the bottom hand is going to the bottom of the camera. The individual looks like they are looking for something. And then grabs foliage. Okay. We're going to watch this again. I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger on the screen for y'all. So they are looking for something. I would also guess they were looking for something, but then they pick up foliage. So I'm not going to, I wonder if they're looking for something based on their actions to cover the camera while they try to take the camera off, because they're going to need two hands to take the camera off. Those things aren't easy to remove. And I can't imagine trying to move it with one hand. So I wonder if they are just trying to cover it, because you can't cover it with one hand and remove it at the same time. Because the lower hand is fiddling with the housing of the camera. And then you see them turn around with the flashlight, look for something, then walk back towards the front, look for something, and grab a handful of plant material. And then that's the end of the video. But whatever's on the front of them looks holstered. Okay, let's There is, I think, one other, I don't know if it's a video. Let's go take a look at the other image that was released. Yeah, this is another video. So we're going to go take a look at the other video, and then we'll watch both videos because I embiggened it a little bit. So this was video 1, and now we're at video 2. That was just released this morning after the still photos. Well, it's much easier to tell that that's foliage. It really does look like they're trying to stick that up there to try to use both hands to remove that camera. And you can see that they have their flashlight being held in their mouth. Now, that video has looped a couple times. I'm just going to go back and play it from the beginning so we know where the beginning of the video is. But this is the, it looks to me like trying to block that camera while trying to take the cover off. But I just have to wonder if law enforcement has narrowed down on who they think this subject is when they release this to the public, similar to the Tepe case, or if they are releasing this to the public to try to generate additional leads. I'm curious as to how long they've had this. It now explains why there was like plant debris and stems on the front porch. So those are the 2 videos we have now seen. I'm going to play the other one again where you can see the person going and looking for something to cover the camera with. But you can see the handle of the door here in the video. You can see that there is no Amazon package. You can see the individual walking up to the camera and trying to block it with the hand. The lower hand, it's hard to see because of the black or the dark glove, but the lower hand goes to mess with the casing of the camera. And then they go to look for something to cover the camera with, and then they cover the camera with it. So, though the backpack will be something that will be identifiable. The shoes will be something that are identifiable. I'm sure when I keep trying to pause this and clicking away, but I'm sure when they go and enhance this, the other items, gloves, and the rest of it will be more identifiable. I'm curious if they have tried to contact and see when that package was delivered and if any of the delivery vehicles have cameras on them. But the shoes are going to be helpful. The general height and build are going to be helpful. So, to me, it looks like trying to grab something to cover up the camera and just rip a plant right out of the ground. So, all right. We have now multiple images released. I'm going to see if there's anything else that has been released. Let's see. Oh, there is one more. Okay. There is one more video. Let's take a look at that real quick. This was released 2 minutes ago. So, one more video was just released 2 minutes ago. I imagine there are going to be more releases today. As of this time, Pima County sheriffs have said that they do not intend to hold a press conference, that they do not intend to update in any other way. And if they are going to hold a press conference, they will let everyone know. I don't know if they will change their mind on that. That might be dynamic and change. That does not necessarily change for us today because we are going to go through what we have. And then I am not going to have a ton of time for questions, unfortunately. But this is the Most recently released statement, there are no updates from Pima County sheriffs 42 minutes ago, and this is at 12:39 Central. So 42 minutes ago, Pima County Sheriff said there are no press briefings planned at this time. Okay. So the most recent video that has been updated is what we are going to look at now. This was just released. It looks like a more full video. They were able to get quite a lot of video off of this, weren't they? I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Given that it was, no, there's nothing, to actually, there's something. So using the flashlight to walk up and then head down, walking, like flashlight off, head down, walking towards the door. This is where those stills came from, I think, to try to assess height. So in looking at that, we have numerous still photos and 3 videos. However, okay, we need to take a look at something together, law nerds. All right. There's no order of these videos. We're just going to go in order they were released. This is the first photo that was released. You can see that somebody clearly has, they are saying it's armed. I am not going to try to even figure out what in the stormtrooper is happening with whatever is strapped to this person's front backpack that looks like it could be strapped across the chest. However, that could be a line on the whatever the zip up they're wearing is. I leave open both possibilities. Full face mask, dark gloves, and pants. These are all black and white images. Then we have the closer up. You can see the backpack straps, a flashlight in the mouth, and the hand holding the foliage that we see ripped out of the ground. Then we see numerous still images with the hand covering the camera, and then another one closer up of the hand covering the camera. A number of you have said some outlets are reporting that he's armed. The FBI said that in their statement that they released. The FBI's statement that we went over a few minutes ago indicates that this shows an armed individual in the statement. So I don't remember if it was this one or the next one, but as we read over it, they said a armed individual. And then we have additional coverage. So that's coming from what the FBI released. So those are the first four that we saw. Then we saw an additional still image, backpack, straps, gloves, whatever is strapped to their front. That's the same 4. I was trying to grab the next group. The next group of images is a different angle, freeze frame. But then there's this image. This image, where we were talking about height, seems to be different jacket, different shoes, different face covering, and nothing attached to the front. No backpack, no anything. So I don't know the timing of these and whether or not somebody went and put the backpack on and then came back. I don't know. So the pants and jacket look similar to me, but similar in a black and white photo. I am very curious when this still image was taken and if they came and took a look. I don't know when in time this was taken. So I don't know if the backpack is off. The thing I'm looking at the shoes are these darker patches around the ankle of the shoe. So that's what I would look at, slowing these down if I was going to go through and slow these stills down to see if there are any other stills where you can see the shoes better. But I don't know the time. And that I have questions about this additional still image. And without the timestamp, it's really hard to know. The statement on these additional still images just says additional recovered images from the same camera, including 2 videos of the individual. They say the individual singular. And then it says additional recovered footage from the same camera at the same timeline, but there's no timeline at the same timeline. The morning of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, this footage is just before the original video shared with the individual approaching Nancy Guthrie's front door. So I have questions. I do not have answers. This is going to continue to develop throughout the day. And this is going to continue to develop throughout the day. So I would need to take a look at these more, but this photo, I have so many questions about. I have questions. I have questions. But people are going to be going over this quite extensively. Yeah. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Some of you are saying there's a line in the jacket. I don't know if there's a line in the jacket or if the backpack is strapped across the front. I do not know. I would need to slow these down and look at them more carefully before I would definitively say that that's not a strap from the backpack and that's a line on the jacket. I would need to look at those. I would need to look at those again more closely. So, and you guys are of course welcome to take a look at those, because if that is a line on the jacket, it definitely it's definitely not in that other still image, right? So I can't quite tell, but this image also, it's dark. Yeah, it's just I don't know. The areas on the shoes, I don't know. So I'm just not sure on that. But there again, we've seen these in real time as they are being released. This actually looks a little bit more two-tone in this image, but we are seeing these in real time as they are being released. And there will be much more time to go over these. So don't worry, there will be much more time to go over these. But as of now, the Pima County Sheriff is saying that there will be no press conferences or press updates at this time. The FBI has released a number of photos. They did not get released by Pima County sheriffs. Let's try to summarize real quick. I'm going to try to answer a few questions, but I've got to go. So Words Matter asked, why the foliage? Any ideas to cover the camera? Absolutely looks like it is to cover the camera, because they are putting a hand over the camera and then they go grab something and then they affix that or shove that in front of the camera, because you're going to need 2 hands to remove it. So with all of that, we have seen quite a lot of new information this morning. So let's see if we can recap where we're at. Since the podcast Monday, we have seen numerous news updates and some additional lingering questions. First, on Monday, we saw the purported deadline that was communicated come and go. TMZ said that they were tracking the Bitcoin wallet information that they had been given and saw no deposits into that Bitcoin wallet. Until I hear it from CoffeeZilla, I don't know. But since those weren't made public, the public can't go track that Bitcoin wallet. But apparently it was a visible Bitcoin wallet number, and they were tracking it and reported that there were no deposits into that wallet that they had in the communication. Then we saw updates from those that were supposed to meet with Nancy Guthrie because a group met together at a friend's house to watch a live stream of church from New York, the church that Savannah Guthrie attended in New York. And that is why there was reporting that Nancy Guthrie had not watched the live stream of church. It's because she had a group that got together and they watched that live stream in person at a friend's house. So they called Annie Guthrie, and then it went from there. So there's a little bit more clarity around Sunday morning and how it was discovered that Nancy Guthrie did not view did not view church with her friends and was unreachable. And that's when they called her local daughter, Annie Guthrie, which seems to be exactly what your group of friends would do if you don't show up and they can't reach you. That seems exactly what would happen. You would call the daughter that is local in Arizona. Then we saw updates that there were delays between Pima County sheriffs working with the FBI. We saw that reported in numerous spaces that early in the day or early in the investigation, we did not have cooperation between the two. And we were taking a look at that as we started to see the FBI releasing recovered video doorbell footage that they say, and we're just going to go back to them directly and quote it. Let's see. I'm going to try to find it real quick. I want to quote it precisely. That way. That the FBI says was recovered from residual data located in the backend systems, which indicates to me, because some of these are watermarked with the Nest logo, that there was not a subscription here, so that a user could not on their devices pull information from the cloud. However, it does seem that there was data recorded that the company was able to recover. That's how it reads to me, because we know that the physical doorbell camera was removed from the home and that law enforcement did not recover it. So they weren't recovering things from the physical device because that was removed from the home. We saw video of they say suspect walking up to the camera, putting a hand over the camera to seemingly try to obscure it. Then you see video of that individual going back to the broader front area of the home, grabbing plant material, putting that up over the camera, and then affixing it to the front. It looks like where it stays. I imagine, because you see them trying to pull the camera with one hand while covering it, that they then use the plants to go grab the camera with both hands off the wall while it was still covered. That's what it seems. That's what it seems in the order of the videos that we're seeing. So from there is no video recoverable to video that's being released, it's interesting to see. We also saw yesterday where the FBI and Pima County sheriffs said they had no suspects and they were investigating new leads. We also saw on Monday that we covered earlier today, Savannah Guthrie putting out a plea for the public's help. These videos and photos, I'm sure, will bring in a flood of new information to the FBI tip line, 1-800-CALL-FBI, or tips. I think it's tips.fbi.gov. We listed those below. There is going to be more to learn from these. Those who are local are going to be able to look at the archway of the home and get an estimation of height. Again, cameras can distort So can individuals. Emily, are we just still taking shots at Brandon? Yeah. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. But you do see images where the subject of the videos is walking towards the home. They will be able to tell the height of that archway and get a better sense of height of that individual. And I imagine we will see more of that information in the time or the days to come. So they also, I think, released the most recent video to be released as of stream. I think part of the reason this was released was to get an assessment of height. Again, easier for those on scene to know how large this archway area is and get a sense for the individual. Also, this archway has some prominence in 2 areas that go across the archway, like where the archway loops over. And they will be able to assess the person walking by that, even though they're hunched a little bit, and get a much better sense for height and build. So as we start to see people looking at the video, I am interested to see, we don't have a timeline, but if this photo where it seems that somebody is without a backpack, when in time this is, if there's video correlated with it, if this is before or after the other videos, that is something I'm very curious about. And we don't have exact times released yet by the FBI in any of their statements. There are no time stamps, even though there are logos, there are no time stamps on any of these. So we are going to see much more discussion about all of this. It is helpful information. It is hopefully going to help the public start to come forward with information if they have any. You've got videos of the subject of the video walking. You have very clear video of what they're wearing, backpack, gloves, and all of that is going to help somebody who might look at this and be like, oh, that looks familiar to me. Oh, I know what brand that is. Oh, I know where that jacket's from, anything like that. So I think we will see, same with backpack, I think we will see quite a lot of more information. Again, these are black and white videos. They are Ring camera videos. I do not know if there is shadowing from the facial covering in those videos. It's hard for me to tell, and it would be easier to go frame by frame by frame. Unfortunately, we do not have the time for that today. As I mentioned last week, we have family adventures. I was surprised that any video was recovered. I am glad that it was able to be. It took 10 days, but at least it's something. At least it's something. And it's something that might help the public have an idea. And if there is this information, maybe there will be more information to come. But it is the most information we've really seen in this case that can help move the case forward. So I don't know if they have information from other cameras in the area, but we did see a very interesting statement that indicated that license plates may have been covered and there may be video of vehicles with license plates covered, but I haven't seen more on that. I want to see more on that before we kind of know where to go with that, because law enforcement didn't put out a be on the lookout regarding it. We didn't see it reported immediately in with this case saying we know that a vehicle was leaving the area with license plates covered. That information wasn't put out immediately. I don't know when that information was gathered, and I don't know exactly where it's coming from or if it's speculative. So there is still a lot unknown in this case. We have seen a major update in this case with the release of video and still images of someone completely covered coming up to Nancy Guthrie's front door, seemingly trying to manipulate the video and having those recovered. So I think that is probably good news for the family. I'm sure it is also stressful news. This would be terrifying to watch. This would be terrifying to discuss with family. This would not always be the easiest update, but it is an update. And as we saw in the Instagram post yesterday, Savannah Guthrie said, we believe that there is still the ability to bring home our mother. We believe that she is still alive. We believe that there is still hope to bring her home. And we are asking the public for any information. This release of videos might bring forward new information. Nightshade Winter asked, was there anything missing from the home? Nothing significantly noted missing from the home aside from Nancy Guthrie. Nothing significant. Her phone was left at home. Her wallet was left at home, because wallet is one of those things you would generally look for. There's not been activity based on all reports on her bank accounts, credit cards, or anything like that. Her Apple Watch was left at home. So there was quite a lot left, and the family didn't note anything notable removed from the home. So it does not look like there was a burglary and then all of a sudden they decided to take her with them, which also with someone who's 84 years old, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of things in this that don't make sense. And this video, I would like to ponder on the thoughts. I have videos, or I have thoughts about the videos. But it doesn't seem that somebody was walking up knowing that there was a Ring or a Nest or a video doorbell there because they are looking for a way to deal with it. It does not look like they brought something to deal with it, because you see them looking around and then grabbing a plant and trying to deal with it. So it does not look like somebody was showing up knowing that that was there. Then again, if you're going to break into the home of an 84-year-old and take them with you, wouldn't you need to have a plan? So there are going to be more questions. However, what the media will be able to take from this, and what those who might recognize this person's height, build, gait, movements, it's hard with a full face covering because there's going to be lots of speculation. I am not going to speculate, but people who know might know. Is that it just allows everyone to narrow things down and go from there. I saw reports that there were motion sensors within the house. I don't know if they were cameras. I saw reports that there were other cameras, and there was another camera recovered later that was not taken, but there was also a floodlight that was destroyed. So, it's confusing. McGuire Julie said her phone would have had doorbell footage. I don't have a subscription, but I have weeks worth of footage on the phone. They do have Nancy Guthrie's phone. I don't see anything that indicated that there was any video from the phone, though they also took the family devices. And, doorbells can be shared, but the information we have today that we have to go with, because that's the information we have today, is that this was recovered from, quote, residual data located in back-end systems. And that's really all that we have on how it was recovered. I would think if it was recovered from a physical device, they would have had it a lot sooner. It would have been much, much easier to get. So with that, chat, thank you for all of the law nerds who rode with the unruliness this morning. I appreciate it. I thought we were just going to update on the stuff from last night, and then everything got sideways. But also, we cover things our way and with our pace. So even if people come in and are just like, go to it now, I'm I become less and less inclined to do that based on those who don't regularly join the stream coming in and being like, look at this now. Nope, not going to do it. So chat, I appreciate your patience. Even when things make me feisty, I appreciate all of you who are just like immediate demand avoidance, 100%. Oh my God, look at it now. No. And now I never want to look at it. Ever. Yeah, 100%. I appreciate all of you. It is why we don't do a ton of breaking news, because when there are unknowns, the Lawnards understand, and those that have been here a lot understand that it is uncomfortable to have unknowns. It is uncomfortable to have unknowns. But we don't rush to fill in those gaps. And we don't rush to fill in, oh, it must be this, oh, it must be this. I completely understand how uncomfortable it is to not know more. I get it. But in this case, it looks like it is going to continue to move slowly. However, what we know today is that, yes, law enforcement has more information than we know. That's a good thing. And I am curious to see if, as we get down the road and look back, because you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you have to connect the dots looking backwards. Remember in the Tepe case, you had Columbus sheriff standing out there being like, we have no suspects. And then when we finally get to the probable cause affidavit, they sure had a suspect. They had a suspect. They had a suspect and a whole lot of information. They had a suspect and a lot of information. And they were out there telling the media, we have no suspect. Why would they have done that in the Tepe case? They do not want to tip off the suspect that they are aware that the suspect is a suspect, especially if the suspect is in another state. Why? Because they can yeet. How long does it take to get a flight to Vietnam? Ask Donna Adelson. They can zoom. It might have been, and we won't know until later, it might have been that they were just waiting until they were ready to close in before releasing this to the media. And releasing this to the media, if they have an idea of who it is, might create a flurry of activity that they can now watch. Remember in the Adelson case when they were talking about tickling the wires? Sometimes you need to do a little something to just see if what everybody's going to do, see how they're going to act. If you've already narrowed down a person and now you can target on watching what they do, and then you release this, you can then see what they are going to do. We also saw conversations about any communications completely cease yesterday. So it will be interesting to see what happens from here forward. If something happens, I will keep you updated in the Lawnard Lounge and on the app. I am not going to be back streaming today, no matter what happens. I've got stuff to do with my family. My kid's personal Uber driver said, so this could be a bump. It could be a little bit of shaking up the situation and see what people who are being observed do. In 10 days, there's enough time for if they have narrowed something down, if they have had this information. I do not think at all that the FBI got this and 15 minutes later was like, you know what we need to do? We need to put it on Twitter. That's not how that's going to go. This would be strategic. We also saw a different type of communication from Savannah Guthrie yesterday. So I imagine that these communications have been going on, and The FBI is not going to be like, oh, great, we just got this in hand. Let's give it to Don't get me started. Don't get me started on the lack of transparency and information. We don't have time today. Got to get to a concert with the kids. We don't have time today. This is strategic. This is not just like, hey, we just got this. Let's let everybody see. This is strategic. It could be strategic to see what people they are watching do next. It could be strategic because they truly need tips from the public. It could be a combination of both. But this is not, oh my God, look at what we just got. Besties, there's video. Oh my God, my freaking mascara is on my eyebrows. I have raised my eyes to the sky so much. Remember, in the cases that we have seen when we have looked backward, so much more was known than we were aware of at the time. And then when you look back, you're like, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. We're not in being able to look back at this case yet. We're in the middle of it. Hopefully, we will see continued movement. I am interested to see where this goes next. I am not going to be covering it more live like this week because I very much want to see what is happening in Murdaugh, and then we have a sentencing. So, this is a big move in this case. This is an absolutely big move in this case. But what happens from here, I will do my best to keep you updated in the app, in the lounge. But we've got Supreme Court stuff to go see, and we got a sentencing to go see. We did an update on Murdaugh at the very beginning of stream today. Because Murdaugh's in court tomorrow. We will be in court tomorrow. So, I am going to be offline most of the rest of the day with the fam because we got a little bit of a drive ahead of us. I was supposed to leave the house 15 minutes ago. Dr. B is going to be thrilled with that. And with that, Heather shared in the chat, I have one of those cameras. At one point, we canceled our subscription. We get emails from the company showing snapshots of our camera telling us that we can resubscribe. You never know what information they are keeping, even if you think that they are not. And in this case, it's going to end up potentially being a very good thing and a very big deal. To all of you that wrote out this today, thank you. Thank you for understanding my frustration. When I got frustrated, I appreciate it. I don't ever want to just sit and fight with chat, but also it's like, just everybody take a breath. I said 17 times, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And we did. And we went through everything that has been released to date and time as we end streaming. So Lawnards, thank you. Again, for those of you just coming in towards the end of this stream, I imagine there is going to be wild and rampant speculation on the internet. My caution on that is people are going to jump to a lot of conclusions. It is not going to be helpful to the family. It's not going to be helpful to any of us. We are going to wait and see. There are other cases that we are going to be covering. I am keeping an eye on this. The reason I wanted to stream it today is because this community, not, chaos agents, this community had such incredible, heartwarming, just notes of gratitude and appreciation on the podcast. There is also a lot of stress, fear, concern, and a push to just tie this up with a bow right now and be done with this case. Unfortunately, cases don't work like that. Investigations don't work like that. And that push to answers is often going to lead to a lot of wrong answers first. There's a reason in all the jury instructions, the judges tell the jury, discuss it first. Look at everything first. Don't vote immediately. Take a breath, look at everything. These things take time. We don't want investigations where in the first 6 hours, your lead investigator, or I'm sorry, case investigator, is messaging friends being like, girl's going to catch some serious charges. That's not what we want in any investigation. It is uncomfortable that this has gone on for 10 days. It is concerning when you are looking at somebody who is needing medication, is vulnerable, and is older and has limited mobility. Those things are all truly very concerning. Jumping to conclusions does not help find Nancy Guthrie, find what happened to Nancy Guthrie, and bring Nancy Guthrie home. None of those things help. I know you know that. Sometimes it's hard. I know you know that. It's okay to turn off the noise if you are inclined to, because at some point we will have more answers. And honestly, I wish I could tell you we will have all the answers, but there are some cases that we have covered together and I'm still waiting for answers on things. Sometimes we just won't know. And that sucks. Sometimes we just won't know. Law moves slow. Investigations move slow. I move slow. You're shocked. I move slow. I would prefer to address something thoughtfully and to be of help than to scramble into the fray for first to do anything. I'm never going to be the first to do anything. I would prefer to do it thoughtfully. The information's not going anywhere. We saw what happened in the Kohberger case with the vitriol of the public. I worry about that happening in this case. I worry about even what we saw with the professor and the defamation suit that we're still covering. I worry about those things very much. But I appreciate this community. I appreciate your patience. And I appreciate truly that you want to find what facts we have, what information, if any, appropriate use of what, if any, what information, if any, we can glean from that, and where we go from here. All right? Law nerds, you are the best. Thank you. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Cheers. You guys give me a cheers. Cheers. Go get the Law Nerd app. You're going to need it. We have a lot of stuff coming up this week. If you don't go get the Law Nerd app, you are going to miss things. You are going to miss things. I am not a big FOMO girl, but if you do not get the Law Nerd app, you are going to miss things. This is one of the things you don't want to miss. So make sure you get the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. I will see you tomorrow in the afternoon. When in the afternoon? I don't know. It depends how badly my knees hurt from jumping around. Thank you, mods. I know. Thank you, mods. I appreciate you. Thank you, Team Baker. All right. I will see you guys soon. Take care of yourselves. You don't need to refresh for the rest of the day. It's going to be fine. I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you don't miss a live stream or any of the updates on the cases that you care about most with the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. It's a free download on iOS and Android so I can keep you in the loop, because you never know when something's going to pop off. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being a Law Nerd.